Let me describe someone to you, and tell me if this sounds familiar. They're driving a 2015 Honda Accord. Paid off. Free and clear. No car payment. That's $400 a month they don't have to worry about. They should be winning. They should be crushing it financially. Instead, they're stressed. They're checking their bank account before saying yes to dinner with friends. When that check engine light came on last week, they felt their stomach drop. They've done everything right. They kept up with the oil changes. They rotated the tires. They drove carefully. They didn't beat it up. So why does owning a paid-off car feel so expensive? Why does free and clear still feel like it's costing them a fortune? If you've ever looked at your title sitting in a drawer and thought, I don't have a car payment, but somehow cars are still bleeding me dry, this video is going to make a lot of things click into place. My name is Mike, and I spend way too much time thinking about why keeping your paid-off car might actually be one of the most expensive financial decisions you're making. If you're someone driving an older car, proud that it's paid off, and you can't figure out why you're still spending money on it every single month, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Here's the thing. We've been told for decades that paying off your car is the finish line, that once you make that final payment, you're free. You won. No more car payment, no more stress, no more worrying about money going out the door every month for something that's just sitting in your driveway. Except that's not what actually happens. Let me take you through what's really going on, because this is one of those financial beliefs that sounds so obvious that nobody questions it. And that's exactly what makes it dangerous. You're sitting in morning traffic on the 405, or maybe grinding down I-95 for your commute, and that check engine light flickers on. Just for a second. Maybe it goes away. You tell yourself it's nothing. But you know. You know that noise you've been hearing from the transmission. That rattling that only happens when you're accelerating onto the highway. You've been ignoring it because you're not ready to deal with it. So you do what everyone does. You Google it. You're scrolling through mechanic reviews on Yelp at 2 a.m., looking at estimates, trying to figure out if you can put this off another month. And you're pulling into Jiffy Lube for the third time this year because something else needs attention. Something else is worn out. Something else is breaking down. And here's what really gets me. We celebrate paying off the car like it's financial freedom. We throw a little party when we mail in that last payment. We take a photo of the title when it arrives in the mail. Free and clear. Fully owned. No more payments. But that's actually when the bleeding starts. Organizations like AAA track something called total cost of ownership. It's not just what you pay to buy the car. It's everything. Maintenance, repairs, fuel, insurance, depreciation, the whole picture. And what their research consistently shows is that ownership costs don't disappear when you pay off the loan. They escalate, especially once a vehicle crosses that 8 to 10 year threshold. But we don't think about it that way. We think paid off equals free. We did the math when we were making payments. $400 a month, 12 months a year, that's almost $5,000. So when the car is paid off, we assume we're saving $5,000 a year. Except you're not. You're just not writing one big check every month. Instead, you're bleeding money in ways that are harder to see. $200 here for a sensor, $400 there for brakes, $800 for tires, $1,000 for that transmission issue you've been avoiding. It adds up, but because it's unpredictable and spread out, you don't add it up. You just know that somehow, even without a car payment, you still feel broke every time something goes wrong with your car. Now you might be thinking, Mike, I maintain my car. I'm not one of those people who ignores problems until something catastrophic happens. And look, maybe you're the exception. Maybe you're diligent about oil changes and tire rotations and following the maintenance schedule in your owner's manual. But here's the reality. Even if you're doing everything right, even if you're the most responsible car owner on the planet, you can't maintain your way out of entropy. Parts wear out, technology ages, systems fail. That's not neglect, that's physics. And the American cultural obsession with running it into the ground, with driving a car until the wheels literally fall off, made sense in a different era, when cars were simpler, when repairs were cheaper, when you could realistically keep a vehicle going for 20 years with basic maintenance. But that's not the world we live in anymore. Let me walk you through the math, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And I want you to be honest with yourself about whether this applies to your situation. Let me show you where the money actually goes. Because when you look at it on paper, a paid-off car should be saving you thousands. But when you track what you're actually spending, the numbers tell a very different story. First, repairs. Consumer Reports tracks vehicle reliability data, and what they consistently find is that repair costs escalate dramatically after a vehicle crosses that 8 to 10 year threshold. It's not linear, it's exponential. Your 2015 Honda? It's right in that danger zone. You're not just dealing with routine maintenance anymore, you're dealing with worn-out components that all started failing around the same time. Alternator goes, water pump fails, sensors start throwing codes, and each one of these isn't a $20 fix. You're sitting in a Pep Boys parking lot getting quoted $400 for this, $600 for that, and that sinking feeling when the mechanic walks out with a clipboard and says, "So we found something else while we were in there." You tell yourself, it's just one more repair, then I'll be good for a while. But that while keeps getting shorter. The frequency keeps increasing. And if we're being conservative, you're looking at multiple repairs throughout the year that add up fast. But wait, there's more. Fuel efficiency. Your 2015 car was designed with 2015 technology. The engine management systems, the aerodynamics, the weight, everything about that vehicle reflects what engineers knew a decade ago. Compare that to a 2025 model. The efficiency gains aren't marginal, they're substantial. Let's say you're driving 12,000 miles a year. That's pretty standard for the average American commuter. An older vehicle pulling maybe 25 miles per gallon versus a newer one getting 35-40 miles per gallon. At current gas prices, that difference compounds every single week, every fill-up, every commute down the 405 or grinding through traffic on I-95. And here's the craziest part. You're not saving money by keeping the paid-off car. You're just spreading the pain out so you don't notice it. Then there's insurance. And this is where it gets counterintuitive. You'd think an older, paid-off car would be cheaper to insure. And on the surface, sure, you might save a bit on comprehensive coverage. But here's what nobody talks about. Modern cars have collision avoidance systems, lane departure warnings, automatic emergency braking. Insurance companies know these features prevent accidents, so they discount premiums for vehicles that have them. Your 2015 Honda? It doesn't have any of that. You're driving without the safety net that modern vehicles provide as standard. Higher risk profile means you're not getting those discounts. The savings you thought you'd see on insurance, they're not as big as you assumed. But the real killer, the cost nobody calculates, is opportunity cost. The breakdowns. Missing work because your car won't start and you're waiting for AAA. Showing up late to a client meeting because you had to deal with that check engine light that finally turned into something serious. Missing your kid's soccer game because you're stranded on the side of the road. What's your time worth? What's your reliability worth? What's it costing you in stress to wonder every single morning, is today the day something else goes wrong? Let me stack this up. Repairs that escalate every year. Fuel inefficiency that bleeds your wallet every week. Insurance costs that don't drop as much as you hoped. And the invisible cost of unreliability eating into your time, your work, your life. According to AAA's annual Vehicle Ownership Cost Analysis, when you factor in all of these elements, that free car starts looking a lot less free. Your paid-off 2015 Honda might be costing you every bit as much as a car payment would, maybe more. That's not freedom. That's paying a subscription to anxiety. But wait, because it gets worse when you compare it to the alternative. Let's run a realistic comparison based on typical ownership patterns. Option A. Keep your 2015 Honda. Repair costs that escalate every year. Fuel inefficiency bleeding money every week. Insurance premiums without modern safety discounts. And that stress tax. The invisible cost of never knowing when something's going to break. Option B. Lease a 2025 Honda Civic. Fixed monthly payment. Full warranty coverage. Modern fuel economy. Predictable, reliable transportation. When you actually add it up using AAA's vehicle ownership cost methodology, the numbers get uncomfortably close. In some cases, especially if you're putting 15,000 plus miles a year on that older car, the lease payment you've been avoiding might actually be cheaper than free. Let that sink in for a second. Now you might be thinking, Mike, but I own my car. With a lease, I own nothing. And I hear you. That's the trap talking. Because what do you actually own? A depreciating asset that's costing you money every month anyway. You're gripping the steering wheel of ownership while hemorrhaging cash on repairs, fuel, and the constant anxiety of wondering what's going to fail next. It's like refusing to pay for health insurance because you're healthy, until you're not. And by then, it's too late. The difference is your car is already not healthy. It's already 10 years old. It's already in that danger zone where things start breaking down faster than you can fix them. And here's where it gets really interesting. The drive it into the ground advice? It made sense in 1995. It made sense when cars were simpler, when repair costs were lower, when you could realistically keep a vehicle running for 20 years with basic maintenance and some elbow grease. But that's not the world we live in anymore. Modern vehicles are computers on wheels. Sensors, modules, integrated systems. When something goes wrong, you're not just replacing a belt. You're replacing an entire electronic control unit that costs 4 figures. The complexity that makes new cars more efficient and safer also makes old cars exponentially more expensive to maintain once they hit that age threshold. Meanwhile, leasing has fundamentally changed. A typical 36-month lease on a Honda Civic or Toyota Corolla, brands that Americans actually trust for reliability, comes with everything covered under warranty. 0 repair costs, 0 surprise expenses. Just the payment, insurance, and gas. And if you're self-employed, there's that tax write-off. If you're putting serious miles on your car for work, especially if you're commuting 45 minutes each way or driving for client meetings, that lease payment becomes a business expense. Your paid-off car? You're eating all those costs with after-tax dollars. But here's what really matters. Peace of mind. Reliability. The ability to get up in the morning, turn the key, and know with absolute certainty that your car is going to start. That you're not going to be stuck on the side of I-95 with your hazards on, calling AAA, missing work, missing your kid's game, losing money because your free car decided today was the day to quit on you. That has value. Real, tangible, measurable value. But we don't calculate it because it's not on a spreadsheet. It's in your stress level. It's in your time. It's in your ability to be where you need to be when you need to be there. The conventional wisdom that new cars are a waste of money? It's based on old data, old economics, old car technology. It doesn't account for how much repair costs have escalated. It doesn't account for how much more reliable and efficient modern vehicles are. And it certainly doesn't account for what your time and mental energy are worth. You're not crazy for wanting a newer car. You're not financially irresponsible for considering a lease. You're recognizing that the math has changed, even if the advice hasn't. But here's where it gets really interesting. Here's my framework for thinking about this. If your car is less than 5 years old, has under 60,000 miles, and hasn't had any major repairs in the past 12 months, you're probably fine keeping it. The math still works in your favor. But if your car is over 8 years old, pushing 100,000 miles, and you're starting to see repair costs trend upward, that's when you need to seriously run the numbers. Not the emotional numbers, the real numbers. Total cost of ownership over the next 12 months compared to a predictable monthly payment with warranty coverage. Because here's what I want you to understand. This isn't about car versus car. This is about buying back your mental bandwidth. It's about reclaiming the headspace you're currently spending, wondering if today's the day something breaks, worrying whether you'll make it to work, calculating whether you can afford the next repair. What's your time worth? What's your peace of mind worth? What's it costing you to always wonder, will it start today? If you're making $75,000 plus a year, that one missed workday from car trouble costs more than a month's car payment. If you've got kids and your minivan breaks down on I-95, that's not just inconvenient. That's dangerous. That's your family sitting on the side of the highway in traffic. Time and energy are your most valuable assets, and you're spending them on an aging vehicle that's draining both. Our parents drove cars into the ground because they had to. They didn't have the options we have. They didn't have the lease deals, the warranty coverage, the fuel efficiency gains that make modern vehicles fundamentally different economic propositions. We confuse frugality with wisdom. We mistake stubbornness for discipline. But keeping a paid-off car isn't financial freedom if you're one breakdown away from crisis. If you're constantly stressed, if you're hemorrhaging money on repairs and fuel and lost time, ownership isn't freedom. Reliability is freedom. A car payment isn't a burden. Unpredictability is a burden. And the question isn't, can I afford a new car? The question is, can I afford the stress of this old one? The people who thrive financially aren't the ones driving the oldest car. They're not the ones squeezing every last mile out of a vehicle that stopped being reliable years ago. They're the ones who've optimized for reliability, for time, for mental energy. They're the ones who understand that the cheapest option on paper isn't always the cheapest option in reality. I want to leave you with one final thought because I think it reframes this whole conversation. Your car isn't just transportation. It's the thing that gets you to work, gets your kids to school, gets you to the people and places that matter. When that's unreliable, everything else in your life becomes harder. You can budget your way out of a lot of problems, but you can't budget your way out of a trap you don't even know you're in. Now you know. The question is what you're going to do about it. If this video helped you see your car costs differently, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more content that challenges how you think about money.